John Michael Bond, our next comic, our headliner tonight, is the man who, more than any person I've ever known, truly personifies our family's motto, and that is, don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. And so tonight, with a great deal of pride and with only moderate trepidation, I want to introduce the one, the only, the inimitable John Michael Bond.
Hello! You can tell I'm authentically Southern because I kissed my mom on the lips in front of people. That hit home real fast. Hello! Hi, everybody. If I seem vaguely feral right now, I've been on tour for 5 weeks. I told my wife I was going to get cigarettes. She's pissed. I went on the road because I've been trying to work on my anger. I've realized I had a real anger problem. I started going to therapy because I yelled at a bicycle. Does anyone else? Let me explain. All right, during the pandemic, I gained a bunch of weight, wasn't leaving the house much, so I started working out. I got a thing called a Fitbit. If you don't know what a Fitbit is, it's a fitness tracker. It's a little cop that sits on your wrist and calls you a piece of shit every day. It's just like, hey, do you know how many steps you could take to meet your goals? And I'm like, it's been 6 weeks. You could just be politely disappointed in me, like, keep it to yourself, son of a bitch, But I got rid of my Fitbit, not because I wasn't, like, meeting my goals with it. I got rid of it because it can't identify anxiety. Let me rephrase that. Fitbit doesn't know what the fuck a panic attack is, guys. Yeah. So 3 times a week, I got a ton of credit for work I was not doing, all right? It was like, oh man, your heart rate is 187 beats per minute. You're in the fucking zone, bro. What happened? And I'm like, my wife said she wanted to talk. Yeah, it turns out we needed milk. It wasn't that bad. Yeah. And then I got a thing called a Peloton, which is the exercise bike that has the iPad and the Colt attached to it. It's real fun. And then 2 weeks into having it, I was taking a class, and this guy reached through the monitor, apparently directly into my soul. And here's what he said. He said, give yourself a round of applause. Yeah. And to no one in my empty apartment, I said, fuck you. Yeah. Here's how you can tell if you need to work on your anger. It's how you respond when a computer asks you to love yourself. Yeah. I messed that up immediately, apparently, And it's like he knew it, because the next thing he said is, if you don't clap for you, who's going to? Yeah, did you know your mom at Christmas works at Peloton? Yeah. So I had to go to therapy. Here's the thing about therapy. I learned about a thing called regulation, and it's the idea that when you have panic or you experience anxiety, it's not actually what's happening in the moment that's fucking with you. It's something that happened in the past, and your body is having a physical reaction to that. And I think that things are bad enough for me to be panicked now. Here's the problem. I'm 39 years old. I don't get compliments anymore that feel like compliments. If you're a 39-year-old man, the compliments you get are always very backhanded. It's like, you look good for your age. Like, go to hell, But the worst one I ever got, I was talking to a guy at a bar, and he reaches over and he taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, hey man, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he said, you're an uncle, right? Think about that for just that's a subtly fucking mean thing to say to a person. That was a guy looking at me and being like, hey, you look like your brother fucks. And he does. I have 2 beautiful nephews. He lays it down. I understand what he meant. What he meant is I look like men who aren't doing great right now. Okay? That's okay. I'm what happens when you set the economy on fire every 5 years since the 80s. Okay? You end up with a bunch of guys who look like what your Tony Hawk creative character would be doing right now. All right? Their best, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna have kids. I've had a laptop on my junk for 18 hours a day for 20 years. Who knows if this works? But if I'm not gonna be a father, maybe I could be like the world's uncle, you know? Like, I could lean into that. I have a lot of uncle tendencies that are useful in survival situations. After the show, if we went to a gas station, I looked at the hot dog rollers. Just from sight, I could tell you what the safe dogs are to eat. Yeah. That's my spiritual gift. That's, I say shit like I miss drug dealers. Does that resonate? I know that Delta 8 is legal here, which is like being cock-blocked by weed, but like, it's like when your dad's like, I'm gonna drink now, but it's only Michelob Ultra, you know? You're like, oh no, that's not fun. I live in California though, where weed is decriminalized, and the hubris has gotten out of control. My friends are like, oh man, I'm so glad I don't have to have a drug dealer anymore. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do you miss? Like, what's the thing you hated about drug dealers? You know, you'd go over to their house, they'd make you smoke some weed with them, they'd put on a movie, they'd let you hold their snake. Like, I don't know if anyone else is lonely, but doesn't that sound like a nice Thursday? You know, like, that was a bro, you know? Here's a true story. I had a drug dealer in Atlanta who once was late because he took his guys out to a ropes course. That's wholesome, okay? Like, I had another drug dealer in Atlanta who invited me to a surprise wedding. Yeah. I want to be clear. He didn't like kidnap a woman and get us all implicated. That's not what happened. He had his wife and his fiance and him had been dating for a long time. She's like, I don't know when I want to set a date. I'm too indecisive. I just wish it would happen for me. So he called all of his friends and he said, put on your nicest clothes. We're going to put on these masquerade masks. We're going to have a party. And I was like, I need to be clear. Is it an orgy? And he went, not an orgy. But fair question, very fair question. And we all showed up in our dress clothes, put on masks, and then the door opened, and his fiance walked in wearing a beautiful dress and a blindfold, and then she took it off, said, why is my dad here? And the wedding march started playing. Yeah. Do you know what my dispensary has? Taxes. Far worse, okay? There's no whimsy at my dispensary. I will say the most uncle thing about me right now is that I buy R-rated movie tickets for kids I do not know. Okay. Thank you. Okay, you guys can recognize a hero, but a lot of people in this country have gotten real tight about that joke, and I don't get it because, like, in the 70s, I would have been buying those guys beer, you know? Like, now I'm sharing art, you know? It's only backfired one time. That was in Denver, Colorado last year. I was on tour. I said, fuck it, I'm going to the movies. Went to the movies by myself. I'm standing in line. I'm playing Words with Friends, just having a nice evening. I glance up. I see two teenagers in front of me. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. They're on a date. Go back to my phone. Get up to the little kiosk. Don't even look up. I'm like, I want one for Terrifier 2. I want a clown eat some fools, you know? And I heard the worst thing that I can ever hear, which is, I'm going to need to see some identification. No, the fuck you don't. You guys can see my body, all right? If this is the body of a 15-year-old boy, that's a 15-year-old boy who's about to die, okay? Like, let that kid see whatever movie he wants to see in his short window. And I look up horrified, and he's not talking to me. It's the guy next to me talking to the teenagers I saw earlier. And I, without missing a beat, was like, oh, don't worry about it. They can see that movie. They're my kids. And everybody stopped talking. I was like, what the hell did I miss? And I looked over and I was like, oh, those are two Guatemalan teenagers. Yeah. But also, like, it's 2023. You don't know who the hell I could pull, you racist. You know, like, maybe their mom has a dominant trait and a fetish for whatever the hell's happening here, you know? Like, so I, like, leaned in. I got kind of aggressive. I was like, yeah, those are my kids. What of it? And he went, you mean to tell me they're your biological children? I was like, what am I missing? And then I remembered when I looked up, it was like, oh, those kids were on a date. Those teenagers had been furiously making out with each other in line. And I'm apparently their dad behind them going, good job, kids. You know? In that moment, none of us are doing our best, okay? like those kids could have gone and just seen a PG-13 movie, but they're looking for me for answers like, Papa, what do we do? And then those kids go, yeah, he's our dad. What the fuck? Have you ever wanted to see a movie so bad you leaned into incest? Not me. I came clean, like, real quick. I was like, all right, I need to stop this shit. I need to stop this. I am not their biological father. I'm their stepdad, though. They're definitely related, yeah? I'm not going to tell another man how to raise his kids, guys. That's not who I am. I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to do it. I'm kind of innocent. I know, it doesn't seem like it, but I married my high school sweetheart, guys. I've been with her for... Oh, her jokes are terrible. You don't do that. I've been with her for 22 years, and I don't know. I feel like my life... I don't feel like I was properly prepared for the world that I was getting ready for, because like when I got married, I really got one piece of advice. My dad sat me down. He was like, son, when you get married, there's really only one thing you need to know. I was like, what's that? And he said, never go to bed in the middle of an argument. If you're fighting, you need to get up, you need to walk into another room, and you need to calm down. And I think that is incredible advice. If the baby boomers had left a world where you could buy a house, okay? Like, yeah. Let me rephrase that. Have you ever tried to win an argument in a healthy way in a one-bedroom apartment? You know? You can't fucking do it, okay? I grew up very innocent. I grew up very Christian. I think that's, fine. Nothing against that. I did fuck me up a little bit because, I didn't understand a lot of sex stuff. Like, I was in my late 20s before I found out people were kissing butts now. That's... Yeah, kissing butts. You didn't know there was a Christian way to say it, did you? No. Yeah. I heard a rapper say that he was gonna eat the booty like groceries. And that threw me for a loop because it presumes way too much about how I eat groceries. Okay? Like, if I ate the booty like groceries, I would wait a week too long and then throw half of the booty away. You know? That's how you lose a wife, That's not good. We've been together for a very long time. She tries to... Here's the thing, I don't have a lot of dating experience. In my life, I've dated 3 women and 1 guy by accident. And that happened when I was 16. I was at an outdoor music concert. I met a guy who was wearing a Star Wars shirt and he had weed. That's how I made my friends back then. It's how I make my friends today. It's basically foolproof. And we were hanging out, talking to this guy for a while, having a really lovely conversation. And he's like, hey, it's getting kind of late. Do you want to go to the movies tomorrow night? And I was like, yeah, new friend. And he's like, I'll pick you up at 8. And I was like, okay. None of my friends drive. You're very cool. All right. Next night, picks me up at 8. I'm walking down the stairs. He is already at the front door talking to my father, establishing trust. Okay? And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. We walk down to the car. He opens the passenger door for me. And I'm like, what a gentleman. Fuck yeah, Makes me feel safe, We're driving to the movie. He's like, movie doesn't start for an hour. You want to get some pizza? I'm like, yeah, let's get some pizza. And we go to the pizza place. He pays for the pizza. He buys me a drink. And I'm like, dude, I got money. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. Tonight's about you. And at 16, I was like, you're goddamn right it is. You know how to start a friendship. Over dinner, I have the best conversation of my life. I realize I've never talked to another man for this long with this much direct eye contact. Okay? I've never felt so listened to. I'm like, I hope I talk to him forever, We go to the movie. He pays for the movie. And I'm like, dude, I got money. He's like, don't worry about it. Have a good time. I'm like, all right, cool. And we get into the theater, and we're still talking, giggling, having a great time. The lights come down. The trailers start playing. And that's when he places his hand ever so gently upon my hand. And that's when I go, oh, shit, I have misjudged the situation. Yeah. But here's the thing. He had been such a cool guy up until that point. I was like, fuck it. Let's see where tonight goes. And I held his hand for a 2.5-hour long movie. Okay? Here's the best part. His hand was dry the entire time. He was not nervous, okay? He was confident. He was also a gentleman. Never reached over, pulled me close, tickled my knee, cut a hole in the bottom of the popcorn, stick his dick through. None of that, okay? I'm like, I have to tell this guy the truth when we get back to my parents' house. If he walks me to the front door, okay? Because if he's not a gentleman, fuck his feelings. I'm a Southern belle, We get back to my parents' house. Guess what? Dreamboat walks me to the front door. Yeah. And I'm like, I had a great time tonight. He's like, I had a lovely time tonight too. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, great. And then there's this like very long silence as I figure out what I'm supposed to say next. And unfortunately for both of us, my thought process apparently looks like this. Just a lot of like. And using the signals God gave him, Zach Morris went in for the kiss. And I was like, fuck it, we're here. And I kissed him. And I felt his lips press into my lips and his stubble press deep into my stubble and his mouth open to slip about a half inch of truth in there. And here's the thing. I know there's some guy in here who's like, you're gay, you're gay, you know. I knew I was straight because I saw a one-piece bathing suit and a J.C. Penney catalog when I was 8, and I've had a boner till now. Woo, you know? And I get that. Your sexuality is valid. Mine is too. It's a fucking spectrum, all right? Like, I may not sleep with guys. I've danced with a hell of a lot of them to TLC songs, okay? Like, they make me feel less unpretty, you know? Like, I love them. So I stepped back away from the kiss. And I looked at him and I was like, hey man, I feel really bad you paid for everything tonight. Here's some money. But like when you asked me out, I didn't realize it was a date and I feel really bad about that. But like when you held my hand, it didn't feel wrong. But when you kissed me, it didn't feel right. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it didn't feel right for me. You know, like some people don't like the taste of Caesar salad. You know, like it's... What I'm asking is, can we still be friends? Right? Wouldn't that have been beautiful? What I actually said is, I'm moving in 2 weeks. Yeah. I told you if I was 16, if you thought I was going to be braver, that's on you. But I think about that guy a lot because I've been with the same woman for 22 years. I met my wife very shortly after that. And I honestly give that guy credit for why we're still together. Because to this day, that man is the standard I hold every woman to. You know? Just saying. Just saying, you know, learn some Star Wars trivia. It's not that hard. She's like, God, my wife's so fucking cool. Marriage is hard. No, it is. It's like the hardest thing you'll ever do. Especially if you're in a long-term relationship, you're just agreeing to do every shitty thing you're ever going to do in a relationship to one person forever. That's like, maybe that's why the boomers are so mad. I don't know, but like. I love my wife. She thinks I'm hot. That's very polite of her. She doesn't have to do that anymore, you know? And I feel like the secret is you got to keep things spicy all the time. I read about sex a lot. This year I found out a couple of things. I found out if you date more than one person at the same time, that's called polyamory. If you date more than one Italian at the same time, that's called polyamore. I found out when a guy squirts, that's mostly pee. Yeah. I don't know. You gotta try. You know, you gotta keep things hot. I'm a big fan of oral. I know that's brave. You know, but I want to be clear. I don't mean that I like oral sex. I'm a fan. Okay. I read blogs. I'm in a fantasy league. You know, I keep my head in the game. And sorry, puns are bad, but. I've been with the same person for a long time, and over time you gotta try new shit. One day my wife, about 10 years into our marriage, looked at me and went, what are your fantasies? And I, a very mature man, went, fuck no, anything else, you know? No, I'm taking those secrets to the grave, you know? And she's like, what, you don't think I would understand your fantasies? And I was like, no, I don't think you'd understand my fantasies. And she's like, I remember your ska phase. I'm like, that's low. Oof. All right, fine. I'll start real small. I'll give you one of my little fantasies. And my wife sat down. She listened to me very closely. And I was like, I'll start real little. I'd like to have a threesome. And my wife, with all the kindness and understanding in her heart, said, of course you do. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, I bring over my hottest girlfriend, and we have sex in front of you, and then you have sex with us. Like, you're our God. Ah. And I was like, oh, good. You do understand. Shit. I thought that was going to be a much longer conversation. And my wife said, very brave, very brave. How about this? How about we have your little fantasy, but instead of you, me, and another girl, it's you, me, and another guy. And I said, touche. Hadn't thought of that. Okay, fuck. What about Scott? You know? And she was like, we don't know a Scott. And I was like, no, you don't know a Scott, okay? I know an incredible Scott. He's in my fantasy league. And that's a joke about how I'm not allowed to talk to Scott anymore. It's real fun. She does, I will say this, man. My wife, God bless her, listens to me when I'm like, I want to try new shit. Let's do things. Let's be interesting. And unfortunately, she is too creative. Like recently, she bought me lingerie for me to wear. Yeah. And I want to be clear, not like a bra and panties, but if you think I couldn't fill that out, you're wrong. I'm hot. No, she bought me men's lingerie. She went to West Hollywood to a store where the most intimidating gay men you've ever seen buy the tiniest panties God ever saw, okay? Like, they're horrifying. And she gave me a box that looked like a wedding ring box, and I was like, that's not a good sign. And I opened it up, and inside were what could very generously be called panties, but that didn't feel like it. I was like, what's this? She's like, put them on for me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I'm gonna do it in the bathroom real quick. I'm gonna put these on. And I don't know, has anyone else ever had a panic attack putting on underwear? Okay, like, calling them panties is generous. It was basically just a bag where my junk goes, and then like a G-string, and then in bright gold letters across the waistband, they said, Trophy Boy! Yeah. And I'm just standing there in the mirror sweating like you are a participation trophy boy at best, you know? And I'm just like, this is not a good look for you, fuck. How are you supposed to look at the woman you love wearing this? You can't do it. You're not gonna be able to perform. You feel terrible about yourself. And I started to really freak out. And then I stopped and I took a breath and I was like, she loves you. She bought this for you. It doesn't matter if you feel comfortable. Think about every uncomfortable little thing you bought her and thought she was gonna enjoy wearing. This is her revenge, but also she's turned on. She loves you. She wants you. She loves you. She desires you. She bought these because you are her trophy boy. Be her trophy boy. Go out there. Be her trophy boy. You know? And trophy boy. So I kicked the door open and just like, bah! Behold your trophy boy. And my wife said, I did not think you'd wear those. Holy shit. That's a no-fault divorce in the state of California. I don't know if you know that, but I was like, that's very rude, you know? And she's like, no, I just thought you'd be uncomfortable. And I was like, why? And she's like, I don't know, maybe I want you to wear them out on a date. Someone sees trophy boy out peeking out of your jeans. They think you're gay. I'm like, I don't care if people think I'm gay. They just be like, dope, they make gross ones now. You know, like, that's fine. I'm part of progress, you know? And my wife said, shit, I wish I bought you the other ones. That's an ominous quote. Okay, what did the other ones say, honey? The other one said, across the butt, coming to fuck your man. And I'll be honest, I was like, you're right, I would not wear those, right? And she's like, why? And I was like, I wouldn't wear them because I don't want to feel like an asshole, you know? And she's like, what, you're not worried someone's gonna think you're gay? I'm like, no, but like, if I was gay, I'm not the dude who's coming to fuck your man. Like, I'm the guy who brings over a six-pack and comforts you after someone else fucks your man, okay? Like, did they have a G-string that said, great listener, better friend? You know, like, I don't know where you put that many words, but I guess it's down. Valentine's Day this year was the worst. She got me a beautiful red box, red velvet, little note on the top that said, tonight we're gonna make a memory that lasts forever. You know? Yeah, very exciting, right? I, a very smart man, was like, sex tape, cool, obviously, you know? We'll just film it in slow motion, get a nice 10-minute movie, that'll be cool, you know? Inside was a kit to make a dildo. Out of me. Has anyone else ever gotten the most pressure they've ever been under for the holidays? Okay. I was like, this is a rude gift, you know? And she's like, you haven't even learned how it works. And I was like, all right, tell me how it works. She's like, what we do, we mix this stuff up, you pour it in the mold. You get hard, you stick it in. 5 minutes later, you pull it out. Then we pour in this other stuff, we bake it in the oven. 30 minutes later, we get a little you to play with. And I'm like, cool, I'm all for trying new shit in bed. Why are we starting with me staying hard for 5 consistent minutes? We've already done shots tonight. This is rude, you know? Also, how much mix do we get? Do I get 1 shot at this? Or like, what if it goes wrong? What do you do with it if it goes wrong? Do you just put it on the mantle like a sad thumbs up, you know? Like, oh, that's a monument to him doing his best, you know? Like, fuck that. And then my wife throws me for a loop. She goes, but what if you die? Yeah. If you ever wonder if she remembers the poems you wrote, she doesn't, apparently. She's like, well, what if you die? And I was like, that's very brave. She goes, don't you want me to have something to remember you by? I've read you thousands of poems. You don't get my gross ghost stick, okay? Like, that's... Also, if I die, I want my wife to do what every good widow has done since the beginning of time. Lie to your next husband and say I was bigger, okay? Like, that's... Yeah, I want to haunt him, not you, okay? Like... I want to preface this final story by saying my mother introduced me, so it's not going to be as gross as you think it is. People ask sometimes, like 22 years together, people will ask you questions like, how do you know you're supposed to stay together? What gets you through the hard times? And for me, it's knowing that she will always be there to build me up and support me, even when I don't deserve it or neither one of us wants it. And I know that because we used to do a lot of Molly. One time we were in Atlanta, we were at a house party, we were having a lovely time, we're in our late 30s, we're much older than a lot of our friends, but we're having a good time, and we're hanging out, we're just dancing in the living room, blah, 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 and this guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, do you guys want to do Molly tonight? And I'm like, oh, it's a little late, I think I have work tomorrow, and my wife went, fuck yeah, Molly! And I'm like, we're doing Molly! And then my friend reaches into his pocket, pulls out a little baggie of bright orange powder, and he's like, here you go. Digs a key in, puts it up to my nose. And I'm like, I don't think I do drugs like that. And my wife goes, snort it, bitch. And here's the thing. I know that sounds weird, but I'm the kind of guy who likes being called bitch by people I'm fucking. And I'm also the kind of person who refers to his wife as people I'm fucking. So I snort it, I'm like, fuck it, and I immediately feel it. I'm like, this has meth in it, oh no, okay? Like, we're just like going, we're dancing, we're going crazy, dancing hot and heavy on the dance floor, which is when you realize you gotta leave. Because like, when you were a friend, like when you're the older friend in your 30s with people in their 20s, you're not really their friends. You're just like parents they do coke with. So like no one wants to see dad get fingered. I'm dad, so we leave. And we get home, and we're making out, and my wife goes, hey, baby, do you want to meet me in the shower? And I am so high. I say, yeah, shower sex sounds fun, which is always a lie, okay? Like, hate to get political for a minute. Shower sex is the worst sex that has ever been invented, okay? It's just 2 people fighting to stay warm for the benefit of another person, all right? Yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, I want to have sex somewhere if anything happens. It looks like a murder, of course, you know? But I'm high as shit, so I'm like, let's get in there. I grab the loofah, I soap it up, and I just start going to town on my wife's back. Yeah, that's right. I just washed my wife's back for 25 minutes dancing like this. And she's like, honey, I got boobs. And I'm like, no one's been back here in a while. I got to exfoliate. And then the worst thing that could happen happens. I realize I have to pee super bad. Yeah. And I go, honey, I gotta pee. And she says, so? And I say, if I get out of the shower, it might be cold, but if I pee right here, it might splash on you. And my wife goes, who cares? It's the shower. And I was like, that's a perspective. And she goes, have you ever wanted to pee on my butt? And I said, what the fuck did you? And I want to be very clear, my wife does not have a fetish for being peed on. What she has a fetish for is not missing out on opportunities, okay? She's like, we're never gonna be here again. If you've ever wanted to try, shoot your shot now. And I'm like, I don't think I can do it. And she's like, I'll make it easy for you. And what am I supposed to do? Let down the woman I love, you know? So I'm like, fine, I'm gonna try it. I get in position. I'm just like, ah! That's very generous. Ah! You know, it's like, it's 1 inch long, but thick like a Yankee candle. It's disgusting. And I spend like 10 minutes trying to pee on my wife's butt, and nothing's happening, okay? Like, I cannot perform. And I'm like, honey, I don't think I can do this. And my wife knows how fucking fragile men can be, so she starts trying to build me up. She's like, don't worry, baby, you drank a lot of beer tonight. You can do it, you know? Like, and a couple more minutes go by, and I just can't do it. And I'm like, honey, I love you. I'm glad thank you. That was very generous, but I can't do it. And she said, don't worry about it. The important thing's that you tried. Then she slapped me on the ass and gave me some orange slices, you know? She's a very good coach, you know? And then I got out of the shower and peed in the toilet like a fucking coward. Yeah. And for 10 years, anybody has asked me, how do you know she's the person you're supposed to die with? I tell them that story. And for 10 years, we have not been invited to a wedding. It's very sad. I do believe in God, despite everything I've just said. I believe in astrology. Thank you. And, I don't know, like I believe in astrology because my wife believes in astrology. Why not? I believed in Jesus Christ for my dad for 32 years. Like, that guy never gave me roadhead, not once. It would be a point of contention. I'm not. I don't understand why straight men hate astrology, all right? If you date women who love astrology, astrology is the greatest thing that ever happened to your dating life, because astrology is just a woman gaslighting herself about why you are you, okay? Like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you're not an alcoholic who won't work on his anger. You're a Cancer sun, an Aries moon, and a Cancer rising, you know? Like, I'd love to be a better man. The stars say I'm a son of a bitch, you know? The best part about astrology to me is listening to it. Because, like, if you listen to what she says, you can win arguments real fast, okay? Right before I left on tour, she's like, honey, I'm a little worried. You be coming home 1 a.m, drunk from your shows, smelling like cigarettes? I don't think you're doing your best right now. And I said, Mercury's in retrograde. None of us are at our best right now. And she's like, you're not allowed to use it like that, you know? And I'm like, I'm not gonna get in trouble for listening, all right? You're being very Leo right now, all right? I don't know. I don't know if I believe in a Christian God anymore, but I did when I was a kid. My dad's a Baptist minister. I grew up Northern Baptist, which is like Southern Baptist, just quiet and polite in its homophobia. It's real fun. I moved to the South when I was 10, and that was the year that I decided God was a redneck. Yeah. I blame church music. Every Sunday I heard a guy be like, God is an awesome God. And you're like, holy shit, God's a Ford truck. All right, cool. My God is a 400-ton towing capacity. What do you got, Buddha? Cows sound like steak. Ooh, you know, very cool God. I will say, if you listen to the creation story, that is the work of a redneck contractor in over their head, okay? Like, he's like, I'll make the world in 7 days. You're like, you could have taken more time on that, brother, you know? Like, apparently you find out one of his other guys is like, I could do the world in 6 days. He's like, I'll do the world in 6 days. I'll take the 7th day off. I'm God. I think what happened is day 6 rolled around and God was like, oh, fuck, I forgot to make animals. Okay, I could do this. Lion. Sea lion. Okay, you know. Otter. Sea otter. Hell yeah. Monkey. Sea monkey. Almighty. Woo! You know? And an angel's like, sea monkey's just a brine shrimp. He already made that. And someone's like, don't fuck with him. This is the most work he's gotten done since Tuesday. You know? It's like, well, what happened on Tuesday? On Tuesday, God invented mushrooms, spent most of the rest of the week on outer space. And it's good, but you can tell when the trip was bad, because it's like beautiful and then there's nothing, you know? And he forgot to close a line of code and it just expands forever. Okay, don't like redneck God, love STEM God. Good to know. Good to know. My dad wanted me to be a Christian real bad. I was 6 years old when he told me about it. And I understand that. If you're like a football coach, you want your kid on the team. I get it, you know? My dad went about it a very strange way. He was like, son, it's time you learn what happens when you die. And I, at 6, was like, I'm going to die? You know? He's like, of course you're going to die. Why wouldn't you die? Why are you crying? I don't know. He said, son, if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, when you die, you go to heaven. You get to see all of your family again. I don't know if anyone else comes from large southern families with too many cousins, but that was a no-go for me, okay? Like, I was like, I just like you guys, you know? And my dad's like, all right, let's regroup. How about this? You accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. You die, you go to heaven. You get to see all of your pets again. Yeah, can we agree that's really dark? Okay? Like, holding my dog's soul hostage to make me a Christian? Also, that's bad theology, okay? Like, your dog doesn't become a Christian because you become a Christian. Do you know how it works? It's by accepting Jesus Christ as its Lord and Savior. And that's hard for a dog, you know? Because they put, like, fucking everything Jesus said in the Bible in red. That joke's fun, because if you don't get it, you're either dumb about science or going to hell. Either way, I win, you know? Like, you guys are very sweet. I appreciate that. My dad is my best friend. Sometimes people think that's sweet. Sometimes people are like, you work from home. He is my best friend. We talk about everything. I told my dad about my drug use, which is probably stupid. I do a lot of weed. I have a problem where I will hang out with people who take weed too seriously because they're the only people who smoke as much weed as I do. Which is, does that make sense? Has anyone ever ruined their afternoon because they were the only people holding? Okay, cool. Here's my new rule. If you ask a serious question when we're getting high, we are not friends anymore, all right? I had a friend, we were hanging out a couple months ago, and we got like just ripped, and he looked at me and was like, yo man, can I ask you a serious question? I'm like, better be fun. And he was like, if you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? And I'm like, it is 6 p.m. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know? And also, no, I would not kill baby Hitler. I would kill sporty Hitler and posh Hitler. Yeah. Okay, cool. History Channel and Spice Girls fans. That's what I like. I told my dad that I started smoking a thing called dabs. Does anybody know what dabs are? Hell yeah. If you don't know what dabs are, it's a highly concentrated form of marijuana. It looks kind of like earwax, and you smoke it out of a bong that has a very special attachment that you can only heat up really with a blowtorch, and you just heat it up, and then you drop the thing on it, and then you smoke what comes out, and you feel like God. It's very cool. And I told my dad that I bought one of those, and he went, son, I'm very worried about you. It sounds like you're doing hard drugs. It sounds like you're freebasing weed. And I was like, well, we call it dabs because that sounds less like drug abuse. Yeah. And my dad threw me for a loop. He went, do you think you'd ever do anything harder? Like, do you think you'd ever do heroin? Yeah. Here's a fun fact, just a piece. You take this home, apply it to your life. If your dad ever asks if you think you'll do heroin, he's looking for like a quick no. You don't want to go, about it. But like, I don't want to lie to my dad, you know? I don't know how bad life's gonna get or how fucking good jazz could be, you know? Like, maybe I'm gonna need something sparkly. I don't know. Does anyone here like true crime? Okay, cool. I always like when it's women who cheer and not men. Sometimes you get one guy who's like, yes. Like, whoa. I asked that question in Denver, Colorado, and a guy up front said, I know the BTK killer. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. It's not really a joke, just a man who haunts me. I feel like we've hit the true crime Goldilocks cycle I think it's going on for 10 years. We've watched too much true crime. I think what's happened is it's sort of like that Goldilocks fairy tale, you know? We started with serial killers, and we were like, ooh, has there been a murder? And they were like, the bathtub was full of severed anuses. We were like, too spicy, okay. And then we found out about financial crimes, but we've all been fucked over. So we were like, ice cold, does nothing for me, does nothing. And then we found out about sex cults, and we were like, yum yum, just right, okay, yeah. It's for me, you know. And I think sex cults are relatable, because like, who amongst us hasn't lost 6 weeks to a man once? You know, like. Even if you're the straightest dude in here, haven't you had a Joe Rogan phase you have to think about, you know? Like, you're like, no, man, he has scientists on. What do they say? The moon is flat and gay? That's not science. It's not science. My wife is obsessed with true crime, and that did not bother me until we went camping. Yeah. I was making a fire, having a lovely evening, just like, this is so nice, blah, blah, blah. Heard a stick break behind me, and I was like, oh, shit. Oh, honey, it's just you. I thought it was a killer. And my wife said, oh, no, I would never kill you out here. The ground is too hard to dig. That's a woman who's only listening to This American Life from now on. Yeah. I know too much about serial killers. I should know how to fix, like, a faucet or something. I should know Ed Gein liked to make belts, you know? Like, that's... There's too many serial killer facts in here. Sometimes it does give me pause, you know? Like, I'm a fucked up dude sometimes. Maybe those guys were just born in the wrong era, you know? Like, maybe Jeffrey Dahmer would have had an amazing food blog. You don't know, like... Can you imagine how long the intros would have been? Like, it's... How to capture your food, right? My favorite serial killer, not favorite, that's probably the wrong way to say that. No, I think the serial killer who fascinates me most is a guy named Ted Bundy. Okay. Ted Bundy is a fascinating enough person that someone heard his name, just like if I said David Bowie, they went solemnly, yes. You know, like, Ted Bundy, fascinating person, not a terribly funny person. He killed 35 women in the 80s that we know about. I want to be very clear, there's nothing funny about that. But, here's a fun fact about Ted Bundy. You may know this. When Ted Bundy was in college, he spent 3 years working as an operator at a suicide hotline. Now here's the thing, I'm lazy as shit. If I was a serial killer, I would also get a job at a suicide hotline. Okay? I would just end every call with, I don't know, bro, sounds like you got a lot of things to think about. Click, you know? Another tally on my wall, you know? Not Ted Bundy, he was into murder for love of the game, yeah. He was the best operator at the suicide hotline, employee of the month every month, yeah. Yeah, that's right, guys. Tonight we're gonna talk about the lives Ted Bundy saved. Okay? Do you appreciate that if Ted Bundy stopped 3 nurses from killing themselves, he's technically at a net positive for saving lives? And every day he would show up at work and they'd be like, I don't know what to do. She's been on the phone for hours. And they'd hear the little ding of the doorbell and they'd be like, oh, thank God, Ted Bundy's here. We're gonna do some good work. You know? And he'd walk in, grab the phone, be like, yeah, Susan. No, I know it seems dark. But I want you to know, you're not gonna die alone at your house today. You're gonna die at the lake like I planned. Click, you know. I'm saying that men are nuanced, is what I'm trying to say. You guys are fun, thank you. I don't know. If you're a man, I want you to go to therapy. I just think you should do, not just because I spent 2 years writing that joke about Ted Bundy, okay? Like, I learned about a thing called regulation. Again, it's the idea there's not necessarily something that's happening right now that you're responding to. Your brain is responding to trauma from the past. And I was talking to this therapist, and he was like, do you have a memory like that? And I was like, well, not personally, but one time I got to see a kid get his face painted, and he went, what are you talking about? So here's the story. I used to be a social worker. I was handing out information at a free country fair one day, and I was situated between free horseback riding and free face painting. I don't know if anyone grew up poor, but if you go to a free public event and there is free horseback riding or free face painting, you have stumbled into fucking Narnia, okay? That never happens. There is not free horseback riding for poor children today. That doesn't happen. That's Reagan's America. I'm just kidding. You know, the America he was destroying. Anyway, that's... So I'm sitting there, and what you got is this long-ass line for face painting and horseback riding. Parents are standing in line for their kids in the horseback line while the kids get in line for the face painting. I watched this little kid, 5 years old, just so excited. He was just like, oh man, can't wait to get my face painted, ride a horse, yeah. And he got to the front of the line, and he was like, can you guys paint me to look like Spider-Man? And unfortunately, they had hired the local ROTC of a rural high school to do the face painting. They didn't know what the fuck Spider-Man looked like, okay? But what they did was lie to that boy and say, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So here's what they did. They painted his face bright red. It's a very good start for Spider-Man. Then they put big black circles over his eyes. Again, very good start for Spider-Man. Then they put a big black circle over his lips. Then, instead of doing the lines all crisscross applesauce, they just put little black polka dots all over his face. At this point, the little boy looks nothing like Spider-Man. He looks like a strawberry in blackface, okay? Like, just a very racist fruit salad, all right? And the kids doing the painting know what they've done. They're like, you should go, get out of here. And the kid doesn't know what's happened to him. He's just imagining himself as Spider-Man on horseback, just shooting webs on evildoers. He's like, I don't gotta swing today, I'm riding, you know, having a good time. He's like, can I see what I look like? And they're like, nope, get out. And the little boy is not dumb. He's like, there's a mirror, I should be able to see. He's like, can I please see? And they're like, get out, you know? And the kid kind of turns into the Joker from the 80s Batman for a minute. He's like, give me the mirror, you know? So they give the little boy the mirror and he holds it up to his face. And the little boy goes, oh no. And that's when his mom from the other line went, honey, it's your turn to ride the horsey. And that little boy had whatever a 5-year-old's panic attack looks like, okay? He just starts shaking like, you know? He looks at the kids who did the face painting like, you don't know what Spider-Man looks like? But he doesn't have the words to say that, you know? And he looks at his mom, he's like, how could you let them touch me? But he doesn't have the words to say that. So what the little boy says instead is, the horse can't see me like this! And then he hid under a cop car for 2 hours, yeah. And I told that story to a therapist. I was like, you mean like that? And he went, no, that's called deflection. That's someone else's memory. It's like, fuck. And he's like, what about you? What is it? Dig deep. And I want to be clear, I don't have a lot of traumatic memories. I've had some shit happen in my life. When I was a little kid, something dark did happen. The lifeguard at the neighborhood pool tried to molest me. It didn't happen. He didn't succeed. It was close. Because every time I tried to get away, he'd be like, no running! Okay. If you don't like that joke, I'm the victim. Go fuck yourself. And, yeah. I told him, here's the memory that I have. This is my traumatic memory. It's the thing that I always think about whenever I try to put myself out there. When I was a little kid, I was 13 years old, growing up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 39 years old. Right now, when I was 13, I didn't have a lot of access to pornography. It was a weird era, okay? Like, I want to be clear. Also, if you have taste in porn, appreciate that that's brand new, okay? Like, if you're like, I can only come from hentai, fuck you. Like, it was a darker time. When I grew up, there was 2 kinds of porn. Porn with 2 people and porn with 3 people. Nothing else. If you were gay, you just hope someone had short hair, you know? But what I did at the age of 13 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, wasn't even that. Because, like, your options were limited, you know? Like, if I wanted to find porn, I either found, like, a box of Playboys in the woods that some pervert had left, like a very industrious Johnny Appleseed, you know? like, these boys are going to care about Charisma Carpenter, you know? Or your best friend's stepdad had a VHS collection, and you just hoped he didn't have a fetish that was going to haunt you forever. I didn't even have that. What I had at the age of 13 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, were 25 carefully selected Harlequin romance novels. Yeah. You know those books with Fabio on the cover? I knew him like the front and back of my hand. And they were my girlfriend for a while. And then one day my dad figured out what I was doing. I think it was because I kept stealing all the scented candles and taking 3-hour-long baths. He came into my room, he scooped up my paperbacks, barehanded. I thought that was brave. And he threw away my girlfriend. I had to find a new hookup. I had to find a new plug. So I found a website called literotica.com. Hell yeah. Here's how you can tell it's a good website. You've never heard a comedy special where someone mentioned pornography before and people in the audience knowingly giggled. Okay, like, no one's ever said Bang Bros and someone's like, my truth, you know? Like, no one's... If you don't know what Literotica is, it's an incredible website. They have millions and millions of pornographic stories. No matter what you're into, they got you covered, all right? You're hot for teacher, they got you. You want to fuck a dragon? They have books for some reason, all right? And at the age of 13, what I did was print off hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of erotic stories on the computer in the family den, all right? I just sat next to my mom while she watched Law and Order and was like, print. And she was like, you're taking your homework so seriously. And I was like, yeah, I'm really pounding it out. And then I would go upstairs and masturbate on expert mode, which is doing it while holding 200 sheets of printer paper. Okay? It's very advanced. One time I dropped it. I'm circumcised now. That's gross. So I decided to practice safe sex with myself. So I walked to Walgreens. I bought a 3-hole punch. I bought some tabs, because when I'm getting going, I want to know where I'm going, all right? And then I bought a Lisa Frank binder, because I'm fucking whimsical. And little dolphin on the front of it, build a mood, you know? And I went home and I made this organized phone book of pornography. And that was my girlfriend for the next 18 months, yeah. And then one day I came home from school and my mom was sitting on my bed holding my binder of porn. And I was bold as fuck. I was like, oh no, you found Dad's porn. That's not my porn. I would be a Lisa Frank tiger, you know? And my mom was like, I know this is yours. There's going to be some changes around here. I was like, all right, fair. What's up? She said, number 1, no more unsupervised computer time. And I was like, cool, you don't pay attention during Law and Order. Good to know. All right. What's number 2? She said, number 2 is that you are going to make the church directory this year. And I was like, what? You know? And she's like, this is beautifully organized. Who taught you to collate, you know? Has anyone here ever been such a pervert you enriched the kingdom of Christ? That's me. That is my formative memory, all right? But I will say, I think the erotica thing is important to me. I have always been more interested sexually in the concept of why someone wanted to be somewhere than what they were doing when they got there, okay? I'm the reason the first 10 minutes of porn tells you why the plumber got up, you know? I'm just like, there's no way that job's gonna take 45 minutes, absolutely not. You know? And that came in useful for me during my weirdest job. During the pandemic, I did a short stint working on OnlyFans. Thank you, and I appreciate that rude silence. And I didn't personally have an OnlyFans, but I feel like I could have done that. Who knows, you know? I would just be like a Dickens novel or something. But I ran my best friend's OnlyFans. My best friend is a porn star. She specializes in what's called MILF porn. If you don't know what a MILF is, that is an industry term for a woman who is 28. If you don't get that joke, you're the problem. And yeah. And right now, all the MILF porn stars are making what's called stepmom porn because my generation apparently learned the wrong lesson from divorce. Yeah. You know? They're like, you get 2 Christmases and a hot mama. You know, like, oh God. I'm an atheist. Those people need Jesus, you know? I went over to her house during the pandemic. She's having a real rough day. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I think I have to stop talking to my fans. And I was like, why? She's like, the boys are going through it. And I'm not proud to say this, but I was kind of a dick. I was just like, oh, really? After everything you've done in the movies, you can't handle talking to some sad boys? Send them to their room. Let me do it. I could do that. I could pretend to be a sexy stepmom. Let me do it. Let me do it. And my friend said, fucking prove it, big boy. And she threw a phone at me like I had picked up a job dealing pills. Okay? She's like, the texts come in here. There's pictures of my boobs in there. Send them if they earn them. Let's see how long you last in my shoes. I lasted 6.5 weeks as a stepmom porn star. Yeah. Thank you. The fucked up thing is, I was good at my job, guys. I made like $1,000 the first week, and she was like, what are you doing? And I'll tell you what I did. I gave those boys the one thing they had never had before. I gave them a good mom. You know? like day one rolls up. This kid hits me up and is like, sup, mommy? Show me them boobs. And I'm like, I can't believe you would speak to a woman you just met like that. I don't think you made your bed today, you little bitch. And for 8.5 minutes, I saw the bubble start and stop typing. And then he said, I don't know what's going on, but you're right. And I said, if you want to talk to me, you're going to send me $50 and a picture of the tightest made bed you've ever made. And he said, this is cool, I'll be right back. Day 2, kid hits me up. It's like, sup, mommy, spread them cheeks. And I'm like, how about you spread open your bank statements? How about you show me your work reports? I bet you're not doing good. I bet your life is in shambles. And he said, how did you know? And I said, a mother always knows. Send me $100, we'll talk it out. He did, he was not financially secure. Over the course of 6.5 weeks, what I did was raise up a generation of men, okay? I gave them dating advice, I gave them work advice, I taught one guy search engine optimization. That's my side hustle. That's a very conflicting day for me, all right? And then at the end, they'd be like, here's my dick. And I'd be like, good dick. It was a very easy job, okay? Like, that job was less degrading than any office job I've ever had. And here's what broke me. It wasn't the intimacy. It wasn't the sexting. I could handle all that. What broke me was a question I did not realize that men were asking. Because I've been with the same woman for 22 years. I missed out on a lot of dating stuff. So I'm just curious, if you like people with dicks in this room, has someone with a dick ever asked you, is this the biggest dick you've ever seen? A lot of knowing laughs there. All right. I didn't realize men were asking that question. I did not realize men were asking a question scientifically designed to hurt their own feelings. All right? We've got HBO. This isn't the biggest one she's ever seen, you know? And every day, some guy would be like, is this the biggest dick you'd ever seen? And I wanted to be like, bigger than mine, but they didn't want to hear that. So what I'd say is, that dick's so big, you need a license to use it in 25 states. Thank you. I thought that was very generous, you know? If there was regulation about my junk, I would have told you about it earlier. Like, and every time I said that, universally, some guy would be like, so top 5? Like, how broken are you, bro? Like, what the fuck? And then one day, a guy threw me for a loop. He went, so top 3. And I was like, oh, this is just going to get worse, isn't it? Like, I'm in a baby arms race. I'm never gonna win. So I said, I quit, and I hung up, which in retrospect may have made someone think their favorite porn star killed themselves for a few hours, but and I drove to my buddy's house, and I knocked on her door, and I was like, I'm out of the game. And she's like, why? And I said, the boys are going through it. And she was like, why? What really broke you? And I was like, they kept asking if they had the biggest dick I'd ever seen. And she's like, oh yeah, they'll do that. I was like, why didn't you warn me? Maybe a little on-the-job training, you know? And then, I'll be real with you. I apologized to her. I looked at her and I said, I'm really sorry. And she said, why? And I said, the only reason that I got this job is because I was a shitty friend to you. You told me about something I didn't understand, and because I had never thought about what goes into porn or making it or talking to your fans, I treated you like it was cheap and simple, and I was a really shitty friend to you. You came to me for empathy, and instead I mocked you and somehow made $3,000 out of it. And my friend, with a kindness I cannot humanly imagine, looked at me and said, honey, don't worry about it, I love you. And also, I'm not a victim. Technically, I was your pimp. But I want you to know, you're not the first person to ever help me with this. But as far as I'm concerned, you are one of the best. And I was like top 5, you know? And my friend told me to get the fuck out of her house. Yeah. My name is John Michael Bond. Thank you guys so much.